Hello YouTube, it's been a while. I started with a Metacycle, but I like the electric motorcycle feeling, so I upgraded to the next best thing, which was the Rivid. I really love this motorcycle, and with a few tweaks like the windshield and the level 2 charger, I think it's an amazing motorcycle. I took this delivery 1 year ago, and I was expecting an app from Votol, from Rivid. Rivid promised an application to be able to control this, but that never came. So having said that, I got the Votol controller, which is actually a very good one and quite configurable. And with that, you can actually connect to your bike, and you can see I just took the stand off, so now I'm in drive. You can get your battery voltage, RPMs, amps, temperature of the controller and motor, and a bunch of other things. For example, when you brake, you can see it here, and so on. But the most interesting part is that you can actually configure some of the Votol controller configuration. Like for example, the maximum current, which is usually 250 amps, is now 280. There's this sport mode, logout, soft start. I can explain some of this, but I think the most interesting part is that you can actually configure your gears. So the first thing you can do is you can actually program your buttons. So usually what this has is it has a reverse on the left, and it has a cruise control on the right here. But in my case, reverse is mapped to reverse, but right button is mapped to gear change. So what does gear change? Well, now it's in first gear. I can change it to second gear, which is economy, or to third gear, which is third gear. So there are a bunch of things that you can configure with the gears. First of all, you can configure what's the initial gear. So for example, if I'm in park right now and I press the button, it will go to first gear. However, if I go back to park and then I set the initial gear to medium and then write it back to the controller, now every time I take it out of park, it will go to E, to second gear. I can still change the gears from here, 3, 1, E, and so on. And furthermore, you can actually take for each gear, you can specify what's the maximum speed of your bike in each of these gears, which is a percentage. These are the default values. So this one is originally Rivid is made only with medium gear, so these don't make a lot of sense. But you can set things like, for example, let's say this will be like 20% of your max speed. This would be 40, and let's say 3 is, if we leave it at 100, then that's equivalent to sport. So maybe you might as well set it to 80. And then you can also say what percentage of the maximum amps, again a percentage of the number I showed you before, each gear can get. So you could have like a low speed but a high amps to reach that speed, right? But anyway, let's say this is 20 and 50 and 100. I can assure you 100% of 280 amps is a lot. So all of these are percentages out of the maximum speed you can set here. So you can actually set this to a lower one, and then this can be percentages of that. You can also disable speed limit and go as high as it can go. So I can write it here, and you know, it will do exactly that. Another interesting thing you can do is, for example, so right now my button here is, if I press it, it will go in reverse, and as much as long as I hold it, it will stay in reverse. But if I like, for example, to have this set at cruise, I can just set it at cruise, write it, and then now if I press this button again, it shows my cruise, and it stays in cruise even if I take my finger off the button. Another thing that I really hoped Rivid will give us is the ability to change the regen ratio. So this EBS ratio is how much of a regen break you want to have. So you can set to something, you know, usually not higher than 20%, but you can also set it to 0, which in my case I really like, because I feel it's dangerous to actually brake without having your brake lights on in front of a car just because of regen. So anyway, bottom line is you can configure pretty much whatever you want in your Votol controller. This is just for the regular standard controller in the Rivid, not the ASI controller, the upgrade one. But I can assure you Votol has like more than enough power. So anyway, this has been a project of mine for a while, and it's working in the meta cycle very well for the past few years. So pretty confident this is going to work very well for you too. You can obviously set some of these parameters with the application that Votol provides, but if you ever try to use that application, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. It's atrocious. And the nice thing about this app is that you can actually, you know, go on the road, figure out how your settings are affecting your bike, and monitor your temperatures and so on, and you know, tune it as much as you want. So I hear you say, how do I do this? Well, it's relatively easy. There's a dongle which I developed for the meta cycle. So you know, it kind of fits in here. If it doesn't really fit in there, you can use like a USB extender. USB extender like this one, for example, that you plug it there, or something like this. Both of them work very easily. And this one connects to the CAN bus, which is present already in the USB plug over there, and then it connects via Bluetooth to your phone. I made this open source, so if you are so inclined to kind of build this yourself, you can do it. Otherwise, I built some of these in the past, and if there's enough interest, I can build some more. Yeah, with that, I hope you are interested, and you know, it makes it for a better experience on your Rivid, which I really like. Okay, have a good one.